Hello and welcome to the Do Not Disturb Football Podcast. I am your host, Drew Pelter. That is Darian. Nimmer is out for this week, so it is just the Double D cast. Come fill your cup up with us. This is the fantasy football show where football never stops. Let me get this GIF out of here. I feel like it messes things up sometimes. Boom. And our boxes have stopped.
Got to hit that refresh.
Refresh.
And
There
we
we
locked
go.
in. And we there.
And now we go. So, Darian, how are you doing today? I know you were talking to me a little bit about how your day was going. Why don't you let the audience know?
No, it was a pretty good day. As some of the followers may know, my wife and I are pregnant with our first child, and had I would say, a false alarm. Same at an appointment, had high blood pressure. Doc wanted to, survey her for just a couple hours, see how everything went. But overall, Sam was able to lower her blood pressure, so there was no further steps needed. So we got her home, resting up. But still anxiously waiting for a little girl to make her debut in the world. But today was not the day.
That is crazy. That is crazy. Man, so it sounds like the baby's coming soon.
Soon. Yeah, we're due for January 29th. I have a guess saying that baby's coming on the 25th. Sam is thinking more in line with like the 28th or even like early February. But today was a little bit of a shakeup. So who knows? She might be stubborn and want to just kick back, relax, or is ready to get going.
Man, what a time. What a time. I'm excited for you. Uh, there's been a lot of stuff that has happened. We had the wild card round this past weekend. It was overall underwhelming. There was a couple of good games in there. That's kind of the way it goes, though. Usually the wild card round is kind of like blowouts, and then maybe one or two games. That is usually kind of how it goes, and that is how it was for this past weekend. Did you get to watch any of the games? Which ones kind of stuck out to you?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch the Texans Chargers game. I did get to watch the first half of the Bills Broncos, which was pretty exciting. I mean, the first drive, the Broncos looked legit, and I was like, oh man, they're coming out fast, coming out hard against the Bills. That's what you got to do. And then just something didn't click after that. That second half, or I would even say like second quarter, just kind of got out from underneath them, and Buffalo executed on the mistakes, and they won. The better, I would say, the better team won. But I was holding out hope for baby Bo, and then the news coming out that he played with a transverse fracture in his back for most of the season. Told you guys that guy he's a stud. He's a dog. We love baby Bo. And then I got to watch first half of the Bucks Commanders game, and it was right after when Bucky scored. I was like, all right, here's the onslaught, because Mike Evans was torching Lattimore all night. I was like, this is a wrap. Like this is the touchdown that turns it into week 1 of the season where we lost to him. And then I went to bed happy. I was like, you know what? We made it to the playoffs. Like, we're here. I have nothing to be upset about if we lose. It's been a long time coming, even to have 12 wins. And I went to bed happy, and I woke up even happier to see that we actually won. So, got to watch a couple of the games, but not all of them.
Yeah, bad weekend for Steeler fans. Bad weekend for Bronco fans. I feel like those games, you kind of knew what was going to happen.
Mm.
For the Broncos, yeah, it just seemed like that first drive, everything was clicking.
Mm-hmm.
And then for whatever reason, like, they just kept stalling out on offense. I was cheering like really hard every third down that came because I was like, you need to convert this third down if you want to stay in this game. And they just couldn't keep up. And I mean, some of these teams like the Broncos, the Vikings, the Steelers, and the Chargers, like those teams, really, it comes down to they're not there yet. That's really what it is. A lot of these teams, Eagles, Lions, Chiefs, those teams like have everything they need to win a Super Bowl. Some of these newer teams that are in the playoffs for the first time in a while, it's just it's just not there yet. So it was a little disheartening. But as a Bronco fan, kind of like you said, I'm happy. I'm happy that for the first time in 8 years we were in the playoffs. Even if it was a short breath of a playoff berth, like I'll take it. Like 1 year into Bo Nix's career, I think it's a good thing to see them already in the playoffs for that. So a lot of hate still coming from a lot of fans too around Denver Broncos, which is weird to me. I've seen a lot of stuff online. I don't really understand it, but let's talk about the big story today. This comes out of everybody's favorite reality TV show, the Dallas Cowboys. There was news last night. I was asleep by the time that the news came out that Jerry Jones had reached out to Mr. Deion Sanders from Colorado University, and those talks have continued. Deion said, to hear from Jerry Jones is truly delightful and it's intriguing. He said, I love Jerry and I believe in Jerry. After you hang up and process it, you think about it, it's intriguing, but I love Boulder and everything about our team, the coaches, the student body, and the community. So he didn't really give an answer on that, and I think that left a lot of people wondering what that exactly means. Darian, do you think there's a chance next year we look at that sideline for the Cowboys and you see Deion Sanders with that star on his helmet, and hell, maybe his son, both sons, Shiloh and Shador, on the Cowboys rocking the blue and silver?
Man, I mean, that would be a crazy thing. But I feel like just the aspect of what Dion tries to instill in the boys in Colorado is like, be a man, stick to your word. I think he's probably going to stay at Boulder for, I don't know how long or the rest of what of his contract is with them. But I mean, if you're going to ingrain morals and acts by your boys and have rules on them, I think you got to follow them as well. You can't just go chirping at the next prettiest thing. So I think he stays. I don't know if this deal gets done for this year, but I think we could be seeing Dion on the sidelines as a coach for the Dallas Cowboys soon, or back in the NFL, or as an NFL coach here soon. When it comes to what you said about Shador, I think I said it in the group text. I think what the Cowboys could do, and this is opening up more of the conversation of what Jerry and Dion may have said, and I think the Cowboys could be an organization that Dion would want Shador to go to. Obviously, they just moved on from McCarthy. We're going to find somebody new in that regard. But you also have Dak sitting there, and then if I'm Dallas, I'm probably trading him to a QB needing team in the top 5, aka the Cleveland Browns. Maybe you trade Dak, some future first, second round capital, get yourself sitting pretty at second overall pick. If the Titans go Cam Ward, you get Shador at 2, and then you get your franchise QB. That's one, lower pay, and then you can shell that out to CD, and you can give that to Micah. So you have now a new big 3 in town, and one is cheaper than the others. So,
Yeah, it's a interesting, really interesting story. I, as a Colorado Buffalo fan, I definitely don't want to see that happen.
mm,
But I would kind of understand if Dion made that decision to go to the Cowboys. I think it's a very tempting offer
Mhm.
because number one, first and foremost, for both him, Shador, and I probably not Shiloh, but maybe Shiloh a little bit. That's going to be a lot and lot of money all coming their way.
Mhm.
The and Jerry too. I mean, the amount of views that that's going to bring in, the amount of merchandise that will be sold, that Cowboys being one of the richest organizations in the entire world is going to grow even more. So
That's true.
from that standpoint, you're like, wow. I mean, I could kind of see it happening if it all goes right. The thing that I think will be the deterrent is everything has to go right in this, and there's a
Mhm.
huge process in this. If you hire Dion, I'm assuming in those conversations, if they're actually serious, and I'm assuming they are, uh, I'm assuming Dion is demanding to be the highest paid coach or one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL. He's looking at about $30 million, $25 million, right around there to be the highest paid coach. He's probably also demanding, hey, we got to make a move in the draft to draft
Mhm.
Shador Sanders,
Mhm.
and we have to draft Shiloh. And I probably want he. I'm assuming I want some say in how this roster's built. So that's a lot. That is a lot. I'm assuming those are some of the things he's talking about in these contract negotiations.
Yeah.
Uh, Number one, to me, Dak's on a brand new contract. So who are you going to go to say, hey, we'll trade you, Dak, and our 12th pick in the draft so that we can get your pick? Are the Titans going to do that? I don't know. I think it's more than likely than the Browns. I don't think the Browns do it.
Yeah.
The
I don't know
Browns
if the Titans.
the Browns have Deshaun Watson
Mhm.
already on a massive contract. There's no way you're going to bring in Dak with another massive contract unless the Cowboys agree to pay the rest of his contract. But
Yeah,
then you're surrounding Shador with like no talent if you do that.
I mean, I wouldn't say they like no talent.
Well, you'd
I
have
mean, Dow
CD, but
CD.
you're not really going to be able to go out there and put another piece on the table, not another lineman or something that's going to help the
Yeah.
offense.
I mean, if just with the draw of Dion, I mean, just like we saw with the trade deadline this year with the Commanders, they were like, oh, like players were telling their agents, we want to go there, like trade me somehow, some way, and like just the draw of seeing a team have fun, winning, and building that culture that players want to be a part of. If Dion is making the trek, players grew up watching him. He's fabled. He's a myth. He's a legend, and like they maybe would take a pay cut to go play for Dion and be on a winning caliber team. There's a possibility. I mean, it's kind of like devil's advocate here of
Yeah.
like what these players would think, but also they want their money, they want their bag. So it'd be an interesting draw because I mean, there's a lot of money shelled out to Dak, CD, potentially Micah, and the other players on their team. So, and they definitely have holes that they need to address in the draft. I don't know if they can cough up capital to do so, but there might be a QB hungry team out there that would see Dak, say, "Hey, we'll take on that cap hell that he has, and have a franchise QB." So it really all depends. But I don't know if Jerry's the type of guy that's going to also pay off the contract for Dak.
No, I don't think so
He's
either.
he's he's a penny pusher. He's kind of stingy. He wouldn't even put up a curtain for their stadium to stop the sun hitting their players in the eyes. But I don't know. It's interesting. I just being out here in Dallas, you I wouldn't really call it like you grow for the team and like you want to see him succeed, but it's kind of cool just to see the inner workings and see a change in a team and if they can get their shit straight and actually win, like finally just give the fan base the reality that they're just delusional about right now.
Aren't you a
Get
Commander fan?
I am, but like I want the Commanders to keep winning. I want to see them in the Super Bowl, but I just like this whole like the rebuild aspect or potentially becoming like good teams. I like my thing is especially in sports, like I hate just when a team is constantly like a dynasty. I hated the Patriots. I hate the Chiefs. I love when it's new, fresh teams, new people coming in, like new Giants. And when I mean Giants, not the actual New York Giants, they fucking suck. But um, like new top dogs that come in, shake things up. Like when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl against the Rams, I was like, this is a Super Bowl that's ugly. No one would have thought about this, but this is sick as hell. Like the Bengals are super young, and the Rams got an aging Stafford who finally gets his ring. Like that's a fucking storyline. That's beautiful. I don't want to see a three-peat by the Chiefs when 7 rings to Pat Mahomes. It gets boring. Like I like new blood, new cycles.
And you would think that a contract would have to be like a multi-year, like one of those 10-year contracts for
Mm-hmm.
Dion if you're going to bring him in. It's got to be
Yeah,
an offer that he can't say no to.
exactly.
I don't know. I don't know if I see it happening, and maybe that's just the Buffalo fan in me. Maybe that's the Colorado fan in me. But there's a huge push for this. I think a lot of people want to see it happen, and
I
there's
mean, shit.
probably a lot of people that want to see him go there and fail too.
I just want to be able to see Dion out in the street. That'd be kind of sick.
That would
I've
be
already met Michael Irvin, like not out here, but this was a long time ago. And that guy is nuts, but it was dope. Like just to meet him, like that dude was sweaty and like low key kind of cracked out, but nah, like I swear to God, like I only had a 2 second interaction with him because I was nobody. But this man, like, I'll tell the whole story basically. But it was U.S. All American Combine for Adidas back in 2013. Got invited out. I was with a couple of my other boys from our high school, uh, and so we're like going through like mini camps, one-on-one drills against like some of the best like in the US. So we're technically all top 500. So I go up against Elijah Hood, which a lot of people may know from back in the day. UNC running back, dude was jacked. He was kind of like a Nick Chubb before Nick Chubb in a sense. But this dude cooked my shit. So after that day, I was upset. I was sad. And we're like walking around the plaza at this hotel in San Antonio, and I see Michael Irvin, and this dude's like talking to the number 15 wide receiver at the time. Michael Irvin's in a turtleneck, 2, 3 chains, pitted out, both pits like down to like his lats and sweat, forehead dripping. Dude had a handkerchief, kept patting down, and he kept slapping this dude. Like he's like, man, it's so good to see you, bro. You're doing so damn good today. Like, oh man, like where are you thinking about going? Like doing all this shit. And he finally like slaps the guy in the back of the neck. He's like, yeah, get on out of here. Like go get some rest before the game tomorrow. Blah blah blah. So I go up and I'm like, yo, Michael, can I get a picture? He's like, all right, man. And like I get up all into that sweaty shoulder, like sweaty armpit on my shoulder, took the picture. He thought I was just a commoner, not like an actual football player there at that camp. So but that shit was sick as fuck. But I lost the picture. But
Oh no.
yeah, it is what it is. It wasn't it's not gonna be worth anything. It's not it. But that's my one interaction with Michael Irvin. But that dude was like cracked out. And he kept going to player, like sweating his ass off and like in their shit.
Man. Cowboys, man, they're an interesting team. You can't deny it. They are one of the most, if not the most interesting team year in and year out.
100%.
Uh, Another coaching move that did happen earlier in the weekend. Mike Vrabel, he is now the head coach of the New England Patriots. Do you like this move? How do you think the Patriots do next season with Mike Vrabel at the helm?
Man, I mean, I think we were all texting about it as soon as they fired Gerard Mayo. They're like, yeah, they did this to free up the space for Mike Vrabel. They're going to hire him. And I think it was you who said that, like to the word, like to the T. And I was like, yeah, I could see it. And then boom, happens. And honestly, I think it's kind of shitty what they did to Mayo. Didn't even give him enough time, only 1 year to prove himself. Yeah, it sucked, but you can't build a team off of 1 year. And you probably see like Robert Kraft seeing the Commanders and like the Chargers getting a new coaching staff, still making the playoffs. And he's like, oh, Mayo couldn't have done like he didn't do that. Like we can be there. We have talent on this team. He just didn't coach them right. So I think maybe Kraft was just had it out for him. But bringing on Vrabel, I thought Vrabel was going to be signed earlier last year when the coaching carousel was going on, and to have him get fired from the Titans and nobody pick him up besides I think he's on the Browns as an assistant coach, like that's kind of a slap in the face when I mean low key the Patriots had the chance to do so last year but didn't. So I think it's timing is off, but it's a good signing. I think Vrabel deserves to be a head coach in the NFL, and I'm excited to see what he does going forward to lead this team. But overall, I think it's a good signing, getting him back in on that franchise, and just being that defensive mind going forward. I don't know who he's going to bring in as OC and other coordinators, but
Rumor is McDaniels.
oh, I'm not mad about it.
That hasn't really been confirmed, but that is kind of like the speculation is he'll bring Josh McDaniels with him.
Mm. He should bring in Salah as well. Work together on that defense.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be kind of a damn good team. Coaching staff, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. To your point about Mayo, like you said, I don't really think they gave him a fair shake. I don't think they gave him or in Las Vegas, I don't think they gave Antonio Pierce a fair shake.
Mm-mm.
With Mayo's situation, it might be even worse because really he was left with a situation where Belichick, as great of a coach as he was the GM before Mayo as the coach, and Belichick was drafting Colton Strange and tight ends and punters, and like when you're left with that and you have like no receivers at all, no like skill guys at all, besides really Christian Gonzalez, that was the only guy that Belichick that was, he was, he drafted that actually had success in that last year. Like that was really the only guy. Everybody else was not really worth it. I can't remember the safety's name. Dugan, is that his name?
Oh, Kyle Duggan or Duggar.
Yeah, he was good too.
I liked him.
But other than that, like that was pretty much all you had to work with. And then you start the year, you draft Jalen Polk, and like you kind of make your like, let's just hope this works. Drake May, let's see how it goes. So not a fair shake for Gerard Mayo, but I really, really, really like Mike Vrabel. I don't know why it took so long for him to get hired. I don't know why he wasn't hired immediately last year after getting let go from the Titans. But I think he is a great coach. He reminds me a lot of Belichick when you see the way he coaches. He has these like certain ploys that he does on the field where like I've never seen it outside of Belichick where he did this one play on like a punt with the Titans where he took like the delay game, so it was 15 seconds or 5 yards, let it go all the way down to 0, and then he had another play like the next play where he didn't punt it, and it was just like a big battle between the team that they were in like mentally. And it reminded me so much of Belichick when I saw him do that. And like he's just, you can tell in the way that he's talking about the team. I watched a little bit of his press conference. he's talking about Drake May, how talented he is. He's also talking about like the line of scrimmage and how they need to improve there. And like you
Mm,
can already kind of tell like he's thinking about how to make this team better, which I'm sure Derod Mayo was doing too. But like to kind of already come out the gates and you're like, this is what we're gonna address. Like Drake May is gonna be good. We just got to surround him with this. We're gonna do this. Like that is something you want to see as a Patriots fan, I'm sure.
mm,
Really kind of here for the Patriots revival. Even though like we all kind of hated them, I think it's kind of cool now that Belichick's not there. You have
mm,
Mike Vrabel who played for the Patriots back in the day under Vrabel or under Belichick at a point in his career. Like I think it's such a cool thing. Belichick chipped in on the congratulating for Vrabel and said it was a great selection for the Patriots and he thinks he's going to do great things. I think, maybe not next year. Maybe next year you're still kind of building, but
mm.
I do think the year after that or maybe 2 years from now, there's a chance they are going to be a force to reckon with. Maybe not AFC favorites, but in the mix, in that playoff mix.
100% agree. Yeah, I think just with the guidance of Vrabel, whoever he brings in underneath him, like just like to your point that he sees the team for what it is and is plotting and knows kind of the strategy that he's going to employ, I should say, to get them to better grounds, better means. So I'm excited. I hate the Patriots, but like I mentioned earlier, I just like seeing things cycle through and new blood come in, and bad teams get good, good teams get bad, and go forth from there. So
Huge congrats to Mike Vrabel and can't wait to see what you do with the Patriots and the guys he brings in. Like you said, I think that's going to be interesting to see who he brings in as the OC, DC, and all the guys around him. I think it's time we talk about Mr. Justin Herbert and the Chargers. They You said you didn't watch that game. I did watch that game. I said before the weekend I thought that wasn't going to be a close game and I thought the Chargers were going to win handedly. I was dead wrong. Justin Herbert came out there, gave you 14 to 32, 242 yards, one touchdown, and four interceptions. The most interceptions by a Charger quarterback, I think, since someone like way back in the day. I can't remember who they said, but it's been a long time since someone threw four interceptions like that for the Chargers. Um, this has kind of been a thing for Justin Herbert and the Chargers. 0-2 in the playoffs now for Herbert. What is your thoughts? Because there's been this back and forth on Herbert. I feel like his whole career, some people think he's overrated. Those people right now are kind of screaming at the top of their lungs. Some people think like, no, he's not overrated. He's a good quarterback. He's a stable quarterback. What are your thoughts?
it it seems that he is a stable QB in the regular season, and then in his two playoff games, he just disappears. He just seems rattled. He seems that he's never been in this position before, and things just don't go his way. We were looking at the stats from the Jaguars game where he lost 31-30. I think he dropped back 43 times, completed 25 passes, and had 273 yards passing in one TD. He's never had a multi TD playoff game for one. And even he had Keenan Allen in that playoff game, and Keenan wasn't even the leading receiver. It was Gerald Everett. So with that, I don't know what the issue is and what's going on with him. Um, it just seems that he disappears. He chokes in these moments where he needs to produce. Maybe it's also his defense. I mean, they came out with the fumble recovery off the rip in the beginning of the game. It looked like momentum was going to be in Chargers' favor going up. I think it was 6-0, but they just couldn't execute on offense to get more points. Because if you only get field goals, you're not really going to make it further into a game. You have to score touchdowns. And that's what was being said in the Buffalo Broncos game. Is if Buffalo couldn't score touchdowns against Broncos defense, like it might be a pretty bad day. But they turned it on. They got into the red zone. They executed. They scored, and they just kept letting it go and kept going on the Broncos defense. So I think you can't really attest it to youthfulness being in the league. Maybe it's under a new coaching regime. Who knows? But I think he just chokes when the time is put on his shoulders to produce, lead, and make something happen. So he just disappears in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's time we really talk about Justin Herbert. I think those excuses we've had in the past, you really don't have a ton left. Um, I think we should give him one more year under Harbaugh and see kind of how he looks next year. But if he comes out again next year and he's like this, where looks good in the regular season, looks stable, and then gets to the playoffs and the first game in, he has a meltdown or a choke like he did with the Jaguars. I can't remember what the score was, but I think they were up like 24-3 or something in that game, and the Jaguars came back and won 31-30. And then this year with the Texans, they were, I think it was 10-7, and then the Texans scored like 21 unanswered points or something like that, and just completely put the game away. Kind of blew them out at the end, and Herbert with 4 interceptions. I think it's gonna be hard in the future getting past these moments, getting past the moment versus the Texans where he throws 4 interceptions in that game, the moment versus the Jaguars where he only puts up a touchdown, and the Jaguars come back and beat his team at the very end. Even past those points, there was a game last year against the Chiefs, the first time they played them. I remember this very vividly. They come out, there was like this hype around the Chargers, like, are they going to break out this year? There was a lot of that hype last year with Staley when they really never needed to be. But they had that hype kind of going into that game. It was like the second game of the season, one of the primetime games, like a Monday night game or something like that. And the first drive, it's 7-0 Chiefs. Chargers get the ball, and Herbert drives all the way down the field. They're in this like hurry up situation. Everyone looks really tired. He throws an interception on the one. It's taken back all the way for a touchdown, puts them down 14-0. I think about those moments. It's hard to think past those things when you think about Justin Herbert now. I think there is a little bit of a monkey on his back that he's going to be dealing with for a while. Can he be the guy in the future, the quarterback in the future that really, makes everyone around him better and wins in those big moments? I don't know. It's kind of hard to see that now.
Yeah. I think we even saw it on multiple occasions last year. It was the game against, I think it was 3 games. It was the Green Bay game, Dallas game, and the Ravens game, where he was leading his team down the field, making it look like a comeback was in the making, and it was just the dumbest little error. Like, might have been on the wide receiver, but I know against Dallas, they were only down by, I think it was a touchdown or 6 points, and he was driving down the field, threw it behind Quentin Johnson, and I think it was like Deron Bland or some of the one other safety for the Cowboys picked it off, ended the game. And then the Green Bay game was leading it down the field, and then I think he had a costly sack where he fumbled, and Green Bay recovered and they lost the game. And then the Ravens just was a complete shit show when it came to the offensive line. The Ravens were blitzing him, but he was still making plays, being decent, and then still ended up losing despite kind of a closest game against them. But I think it's when he plays decent, talented defenses, he chokes. And you could argue the Texans defense under D'Amico Ryan is one of the best in the league when they're fully healthy. And it's a hard way to scheme against him and win against him. So maybe it's just against good defenses that he just chokes and under pressure just loses it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think we should wait to make this judgment on him until next year. At the end of next year, I think we should reevaluate where we kind of stand on Justin Herbert because I think it's going to take a little bit. You know, getting into the playoffs in your first year under Harbaugh is an accomplishment for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But like, this is a talented roster. This Chargers roster, they have some good players. I know Keenan Allen's not there anymore, but I really like Ladd. I said that before the season. I think he's going to be a really good receiver in this league. J.K. Dobbins this year was really, really good. Gus Edwards started to show some promise there at the end. The defense has some really good players. Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. Like, there's a lot of good players on this roster. And maybe, you're not there yet, just like the Broncos aren't there yet. Like, that's just the way it is. But some of these guys, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, probably in particular, are going to be 1 year older now. Khalil Mack is I think he's at the end of his contract and is either going to re-sign. I think he's also kind of stated he doesn't really know what his future is. Some people wonder if he's going to retire. So, all these guys are getting older. Derwin James isn't the youngest safety anymore. Like, all these guys are kind of older now. And like Justin Herbert, it's time to elevate. It's not time to make these kind of, damning mistakes in the playoffs and the big, big moments.
Agreed.
Another meltdown we got to all see. That was last night. The Sam Darnold-led Vikings gave up 9 sacks in the game, 6 sacks by the second quarter. They scored 9 points in total, the Vikings. So when you get sacked 9 times and you can only score 9 points, I would say 10 times out of 10 you're going to lose that game. After that performance last night, and that was a primetime game, everyone got to see it. Everyone kind of saw Sam Darnold, the old Sam Darnold, not the Sam Darnold that has been on the Vikings this year playing the way that he has. This was reminiscent of like the New York Jets, Sam Darnold, and some of the plays he had in Carolina, which ultimately got him out of there. Do you think, I guess there's really a big question on the table now, because we saw what J.J. McCarthy did in this past preseason. You have Sam Darnold, who put up a pretty solid season as a starter. A little bit of a resurgence, by the way. We said on this show a couple weeks ago, Vikings are a one-and-done playoff team. We said that in October, early October. One-and-done playoff team. Do you think the Vikings should pay Darnold to a big contract? Do you think there's any team out there that should pay Darnold to a big contract? And do you think that's going to happen?
It's a tough one. Like, he did so well. Like, he defied our thoughts and our opinions. A lot of other analysts had the Vikings not being where they were. What 14-3, I think, or 15-2 in the season, whatever the case may be.
14-3, I think.
Yeah, 14-3. Bro, they killed their expectations, and to the point, Sam Darnold was leading them to that record. They have been pretty fantastic on offense, have great pieces. Now, when it comes to them paying him in a big contract, I don't know if they do it. I don't think they do it. I think they utilize Sam as the bridge QB that basically he was kind of intended to be, or like as a mentor for JJ. I think they're gonna maybe sign him again for a minimal deal. And that's their best scenario. Sam is coming off a great year. He might be asking for a shit ton of money or looking elsewhere, and they might just trade him off. But if I'm the Vikes, I'm just giving him as little money as I possibly can as being a bridge QB because I just spent a first round pick on JJ. And yeah, him getting hurt sucked his first year, but kind of sweep it under the rug. It's just prolongs his development, sure, but we didn't get him hurt further by trying to put him into games and see what he can do. Like kind of like Kirk and Penix situation. Like they just booted out the starter, put in Penix, see what he can do. But I think the Vikes, I think they stay smart. They can give Darnold a little money, keep JJ underneath him. He be the mentor for the next year as well, and then have JJ blossom into a starter. But seeing that he had a good year, he's probably going to ask for too much money, and they're going to trade him. And I would say the only team, if anything shakes up before the draft, I'd say it was probably going to be the Raiders. Raiders would maybe make a move to get JJ, or excuse me, Sam Darnold. And I could be an okay fit depending on who comes in as head coach. Because Minshew wasn't the answer. O'Connell's not the answer. Maybe you take a guy who had a great year in Minnesota, have him be the bridge QB, because it doesn't seem like the Raiders are going to get any of the top QBs in this draft. So maybe you wait till next year.
Yeah, I would assume they're going to utilize the franchise tag on Sam Darnold because that's probably the best situation. It's still
I forgot about the franchise tags.
Franchise tagging a quarterback is still kind of expensive, but I think that's probably the best option. You give him the franchise tag so you're not attached to him long term, longer than just 1 year. McCarthy's probably going to come back before the preseason. He should be able to be like full go, you would think. If everything's right on track, he'll come into the preseason, play the preseason. I would assume he'll light the world on fire like he did this past preseason. And then you'll see Sam Darnold play out the year. Maybe JJ takes his spot later in the year next year, or maybe they go a full year with Sam Darnold again. You kind of know what you get with him now. I feel like the book's kind of out on him. You kind of know what you're going to get with him. He has insane arm talent, and you gotta applaud him for what he did this year. Like, really was forced into the situation with JJ McCarthy going down, and it's like, you're it, man. Like, if you don't do well, this team's not going to do well. Like, good luck, buddy. Like that's pretty much what it was. And for everything that he did, like you said, leading a team to 14-3, you saw at the end of the game, not the Lions game, but the game before that, there was a moment where Sam Darnold walked in the locker room and they poured water on him and they all like danced and jumped up and down with him. And I think he had done something pretty big in the game, some sort of accolade that I can't remember, but it was a big deal. It was a big deal for him all year for a guy. I mean, really, he's only 27 years old. That's the craziest part about it. Yeah. Feels like he's been in the league for like 10 years.
With how much movement he's been doing in his career, yeah, it feels like 10 years.
But it's good to see. I think I would bet money he's going to be back in Minnesota next year under the franchise tag.
Yeah.
I've heard some Steelers fans want him, and I'm like, really? I'm like, is he that much better than Russ? Is he better than Russ?
This year, I'd say, but
really, you have to get a good offensive line around him because, like, you saw what happened last night, and they had a decent offensive line to start the season. The Vikings did.
Yeah.
And then there were so many injuries that happened. I think they lost 2 or 3 guys on their offensive line through the season. And then you get to the playoffs, and really the pass rush from the Rams has been a surprise this year. But they're not the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're not the Baltimore
Mm,
Ravens. They're not, any of these top teams that can get after the passer. Like, they're not that. The Rams
yeah,
are good. You have Jared Verse that's good. You have Young on the other side who's good. Uh,
Fisk.
Fisk who's shown some, you know, he's not a superstar, but he looks like he could be a decent player. Verse I really like. I think Verse is
I
going to
like
be
Verse.
really really good. Um, but he was. I mean, he was. There was a point last night in the game. I would imagine O'Connell, the coach, got super angry with him or frustrated with him. There was a point where they called a screen pass, and Justin Jefferson was there. It was to Justin Jefferson,
Mm,
and the pass rush was already kind of in his face. He could have made the throw. I feel like maybe I'm wrong. I'm not out there playing quarterback, but I feel like he could have made the throw. And because the pass rush got there, he turned away immediately, looked to the other side, and then took a sack. And he's kind of famous for the quote saying like, "I thought I was seeing ghosts out there." You never want to hear that from your franchise quarterback. That's what it looked like last night. It looked like he was seeing ghosts.
he's just holding on to that ball too damn long. Like you mentioned, reverting back to Jets, Sam Darnold, Carolina, Sam Darnold, just holding on to the ball way too long. Reads were missed, and just taking unnecessary sacks. I mean, you're taking 9 sacks, like you mentioned. Yeah, you're not going to execute on offense. You can't get anything done. So, yeah, it just was. It's sad to see that he had such a good season and then reverted back to his old self and choked his team out of the playoffs.
It was kind of a nightmare situation too for the Vikings because you saw Detroit play them the week before, and that game plan they had against him where they were just getting after him every single play. And the Rams already beat them. We all kind of forget that, like
Yeah,
earlier in the
30-20.
season. Yeah, the Rams beat the Vikings, and like I was thinking before the game on our show last week that the Vikings would win, but right before the game started last night, I was like, oh man, the Rams already beat the Vikings earlier this year, and
Mm-hmm.
it's obvious they saw that game plan that the Lions had, and they said, "Oh, we can beat this team if we just get after Sam and make him nervous. We can beat this team."
Like that's mainly like the game plan for most of these QBs. Even if you like rattle Pat Mahomes, what Sam Fran did a couple years ago is the the pass rusher lanes being just straightforward on the edge, so he can't work his way out, and you force him back in where you have your maybe like a blitzing linebacker or your D tackles that are just now freeing up. You choke him back down into the pocket, collapse it down on him, so he can't be evasive, prolonged plays. So if you make him hold on to the ball too long and then you get pressure into his face, you stop him. And that's what Tampa Bay did years back too. Controlled pass rushing lanes, bring him back into the pocket, get the sack, make him force like a check down, and then you're good. But yeah, I think when it comes to these QBs, especially that aren't like playoff experienced, you get to them, you get in their face, you rattle them early and you rattle them fast, they choke.
Yeah, and I mean that's why you see guys in the draft that the number one guys that are getting drafted are either quarterbacks or the people rushing the quarterback. Those are
Mm-hmm.
the most important players in the league, in my opinion.
100%. This
Maybe,
DN class this year is going to be filthy, I think.
yeah. I were you on the show when I said that this running back class is going to go down as one of the best all time?
I think it might have been the episode before I got on.
Yeah, you missed Tuesday. That was my
Mm-hmm.
take last week. I said this running back class will go down as one of the best of all time.
Who I mean, it's Genty. It's who is it? What's his
Caleb
last name?
Johnson,
Caleb Johnson, Hampton out
Ham-
of North Carolina. I think is
North
his last
Carolina,
name.
Devin
Uh,
Neal,
I
uh,
mean, Ollie Gordon's in the mix, but
Ollie Gordon.
he had a shit year. But I kind of blame OSU for that. But
I thought Nicholas Singleton was coming, but he said he's going to return. Him and the other running back from Penn
from
State.
Penn State.
They both said they're
Damn.
returning next year, so that's interesting for them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a really good running back class for sure. It's going to be like I feel like people aren't talking about it enough.
Yeah. I don't know what it is with this draft class. Like, it's not getting the hype that it really should. Because I feel like there's a lot of really good talent. We could be looking at like another 2011 draft where you had some big ass names in the mix, where you had like Von Miller, Cam Newton, Julio Jones, like some heavy hitters. It could turn out to be that kind of generational class.
Yeah, the like you said, the pass rushers are good in this class. I think the running backs are good in this class. Really, it's probably because there's not 5 different quarterbacks we're looking in.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of leading to like this draft not getting a bunch of hype. There's still probably 4 more likely than three quarterbacks that we're kind of looking at, and that's Shador, Cam Ward, and I think some people are looking at Jalen Milroe out there.
He's second round talent. I think there's
I
just
think
too much.
I think someone's going to reach for him.
What pick is the Jets? 6?
I don't
No,
know.
that's Raiders. Yeah, I think
I
they're
don't
like 7 or 8.
I don't think he'll go within the top 10. He might go like 10. I'm not sure who's sitting there at 10, but let me see.
I know the Jets are, I think, at 8, 7 or 8, and I think they could reach there if Rogers leaves and they're seeing Shador gone, Cam gone. You're not going to take. I mean, Carson Beck is staying. He went to Miami. And what do you have? Drew Alar, who showcased that he's not.
He's returning, pretty sure.
Drew Alar is okay, good, because he needs to save himself.
Yeah.
I think Quinn Ewers probably is going to stay too, again, but I
No,
think he gets.
he said he's coming to the draft.
Oh, he is. Oh,
He's
thank God.
he said that right before it was taped before the game, but like in the pregame show, they asked him in the interview like, "What are your plans for next year?" And he said, "I'm not coming back to college."
Yeah, he's going to lose the starting job to Arch,
Yeah, there's he would have to transfer, I think.
or Sarkeesian's going to the NFL as a coach, which would be another prompt reason to not stay. But I don't think he should. I think he needs to stay
Jets
at
have the
UT.
7th pick. Oops.
Jets do. Yeah, I think Jalen could go at 7 because they're going to
Wow,
get antsy.
that's a huge
They-
reach.
They're going to get so antsy, but he can fall to the second easy for them. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with the Jets. We talk a lot about them on this show.
Yeah,
I would imagine Aaron's gone, Devontae's gone, Garrett Wilson's probably gone. They're not going to bring anyone in. No one wants to go to the Jets, so they got a lot of things to
they're
address,
about to be
and
so bad.
they they could go 17.
I think they're going to be the worst team in the league next year
I think
by
we could
far.
have. I think we're going to have the first ever 0-17 team.
Mm.
And then it might be. That's my hot take for the
There's
day.
your-
The
there's your hot take.
the New York Jets are going to be 0-17 next year. Bring out your brown paper bags. Say sell the team, Woody Johnson. You guys are in for what Detroit went through for 20 years. You guys are shit. It's a shit run organization. And just move on to the Giants.
I mean, it's pretty public now that no one wants to play for the Jets.
That's so bad, bro. I mean, you were once good in the 60s.
Yeah, a long time ago.
You got Joe Namath still loving that.
In the Sanchez years.
2 AFC championships back to back, but you lose, and then your career is then butt fumble.
Yeah.
Tragic.
Those were interesting teams. Him and LaDainian Tomlinson and
Michael Vick was on the Jets too.
Brandon Marshall. That was a interesting time.
Bring it back. Honestly, at this point, you have nothing to lose. Bring Rex Ryan back.
He's talking like he's gonna get the job.
He's manifesting, bro. He's gonna.
Did you see him talking about Vrabel?
Yeah.
He said, "I'm going to kick his ass for 2 times a year."
I'm like, all right, Rex, like get
Even
an
the
offer.
even the guys on the ESPN panel are like, "This guy, like."
Bro, bring him back just so he can lose 4 games and then you fire him, just like you did Salah. Just
I
fucking rinse and repeat.
I do think he could. Well, I don't know. I really don't. It's been so long that like I don't know how he would do. I think his defense would be decent, but like I don't think the offense would be very good at all.
No, it's outdated, antiquated. He's gonna be destroyed.
Yeah, it would just not. It wouldn't work.
Mm-mm.
So hot take Tuesday, you have 0-17 Jets next year.
0-17 Jets.
That's crazy. It's a good take. I do think they're going to be. I think they're probably going to be the worst team in the league next year. There's going to be a lot of teams that are bad next year, kind of like we saw this year. I think there was more than 10 teams with like really, really bad records, like 3, 4, 5 wins.
Yeah.
I think you're probably going to see that next year, which is sad for a lot of people in the league. Not for us, though, baby. Not for the Broncos and the Commanders. That Commanders game, I don't feel like we talked about that enough.
What a game.
Yeah.
Like some dumb, questionable play calling in the first half. Just the integration of like college style plays, like the speed options that they were trying to do with Eckler. I think they only did it maybe like 2 or 3 times, but like we were like 6 yards out from the end zone and they run a speed option. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Like these players in the NFL are so fast. They're going to cover the distance and they know how to bracket defense. They're able to stop it. Like that was a horrible play by Cliff. And then going for it on 4th down. Yeah, great. We're not afraid to go on 4th down, but we've left like 6 points on the board where it was like easy chip shot field goals. I was confused. And that's what upset me the most about it was like, we could be losing games because of this. Like just one mess up, like one, when you're in range of getting points and you don't take it, like you cut yourself out of a potential win or a potential tie. It gets dangerous, especially the further that you get into these playoffs because you're going to be playing good teams. And yeah, I mean, but the end of it, the last 5 games for the Commanders have been on basically walk-offs on like the last play from scrimmage. Saints, I mean, the Saints scored a touchdown, went for 2. We stopped them, won 21-19 or 20-19. I mean, final for the Cowboys, we won on a last-second touchdown to Terry McLaurin. We beat the Eagles last second to a Jamison Crowder touchdown with like 6 seconds left or like 30 seconds left. I'm trying to think of what the other ones were. Oh, the Falcons in OT, touchdown by Zach Ertz to walk off, get the fuck out of there. And there's one other, but we're just the last second win team. We put it together, have fantastic final drives, and just come out on top. So we give it up to Zane Gonzalez, who has OCD and combs his hair about 17 times before putting on the helmet.
Did you see his wife? Her TikTok?
No, I didn't see that. Did she confirm that it's OCD? Because he kept like taking the helmet off and then
she posted like she was like, to the world that's making fun of my husband's OCD tick. And it was that girl that's like, scram. You know? Get out of here.
That's just hysterical. But hey, divisional doink is what they're calling it.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
I love it.
Jaden, that dude is so good. He is so good.
Mm,
He is by far the best quarterback in this past draft class.
100%.
I don't know if Caleb Williams can ever catch up after watching that matchup against the Bucks.
Mm-mm.
Cuz he is like he's so in control. As a rookie, like it looks like he's been in the league for years the way he plays. There was one play where like he was kind of rolling out to the right and he was baiting the linebackers for the Bucks, mind you, like really good linebackers. And they kind of stepped up and as soon as they did that, he like threw it over the top of them. That was such a cool play. I was like, man, this guy is smart as hell.
Dude, he's wicked. It just even the play, the third down play where it was I think 3rd and 2. Kalijah Cansey
Yeah.
just was in his face, was able to like kind of slow move him and then beat him on the edge. Like one, Jaden is very quick, very fast, and with Kalijah being in his face, he was calm, like cool, collected, got out from it, and was still able to speed through and get the first down and like be smart about it to like dive forward just to get a couple extra yards. But it's just like how calm he is, even when there's pressure in his face. Like even the Saints game where um, I think he had Chase Young and somebody, I think the D tackle for the Saints, like barreling down on him. It was a broken play. He moved out of the pocket, slipped, and the Saints dude was about to just jump on him, was able to get back up, dice him up, and then basically step forward, throw a dot to McLaurin. I'm like, no one else is like really making that kind of play, being calm despite pressure being in his face and being mobile enough to get back up, see where his receivers are, and then just throw a laser beam. Kids is the truth. I'll tell you that. He's exciting.
He does need to slide more though. He makes me nervous.
Yeah, there was a couple hits. There were a couple
He was
hits. I was
taking
like,
big hits in that game. Although I feel like they didn't talk about it enough. He kind of got a stiff arm on Levante David going out of bounds.
mm-hmm.
I was
That
like, Levante, like that's a big ass dude.
oh, the hit by McCollum where he
Oh
Jaden
yeah,
flew. I was like,
yeah. You better calm that shit down, Jaden.
yeah, please just relax a
Reel it
bit.
back.
I had flashbacks to the Seattle playoff game with RG3 with the knee brace, and I was like, oh god, it's happening again.
And De'Ame Brown, he had a huge game.
So, bro, I don't understand Diami Brown because we drafted him, I think what 2-3 years ago out of North Carolina. He was supposed to be this whole like, oh, take the top off the defense, like deep threat. Fucking wasn't doing anything. And then this year he's like been pretty impactful in late stages of games, but yeah, this week like
He
he
was
was popping off.
in this game. I feel like he was like a bulldozer almost, like a
Yeah,
Debo type.
it was beautiful. I was like, where has this been? Like
Yeah.
shit. I mean, I like it really was interesting to me because I thought Jahan Dotson um, was a better receiver, like his first like year, 2 years with the Commanders, and like basically was pushing Diami out. And then obviously for this year, we traded Jahan, and he must have just been a bad receiver. We kind of saw it his sophomore year; he wasn't very good or like producing like he did his rookie year. But just for Diami to step up, put his name in the hat, and showcase it this season, I've been pretty impressed.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got one hot take from Darian. I'll give you two hot takes today.
Ooh,
Um, my first hot take is one that I've already kind of given you. I gave this to you before the season. I said Cowboys going to be bad. Belichick's going to come to the door. They're going to take Belichick. Um, Based off of a report that I saw today, I think it's more likely that this talk with Deion Sanders kind of fizzles out, and then they move on to Bill Belichick and they buy him out of his contract. Deion Sanders would cost $8 million, which isn't that much, and Bill Belichick is $10 million. So just $2 million more to buy out Bill Belichick. There's a report that the hires of Bill Belichick and the staff around UNC is making a lot of people around the school and the team nervous. He's hired Freddie Kitchens as the OC and his son, Steve, I think is his name, Belichick, as the DC. And I think he's only hired 5 other people. So there's 7 or 8 people on the staff right now, which is light compared to other teams. I mean, other teams have a lot. I think they said he has $10 million to work with. So really, he should have a full staff around him already. You should have trainers and a bunch of different scouts and all these different positions, athletic, like conditioning coaches, the weight room coaches, special teams. Like there's so many positions you need to put around you to be like a successful college program. I wonder if that's for a reason. You know, like I wonder if he thinks there's a chance. And there was some other teams like the Raiders, I think, have reached out to him.
Really?
Yeah. So like, I wonder if there's a reason that if someone were to come to him and say, you know, Bill, we'll give you a nice contract, more than you're making at UNC, does he just pick up and go? And I wonder if that would kind of screw up his son. But
I think it would, but
yeah.
Damn. I haven't seen those reports or anything circulating about.
I did a lot of research today.
Yeah?
Yeah, because
shit.
Sammy's dad, Jim, I can tell he wants Deion to go to the Cowboys, one, so that he can stop hearing me talk about the Colorado Buffaloes, and 2, I think he wants to see Deion go there and not do well.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's interesting, though.
I did a bunch of research. I looked up like the top paid coaches in the NFL, what you're gonna have to pay Deion, what the buyouts for Deion is, what the buyout is for Belichick. So it's interesting.
I mean, I think what? I mean, how many coaches are on an NFL staff? I know like there's
a lot,
a ton, but
yeah,
because you get pretty specific, like RBs, wide receivers, tight ends, and then even deeper with like the trainers and whatnot.
I would think there's more on a college. Well, I don't know actually, because there's a lot of position coaches.
Man, I don't know. That'd be interesting if a team bought out his contract already without even like coaching a game in college.
I think he's gonna struggle in college.
I mean, shit, he's in the ACC.
It's not the toughest. It's not the toughest conference, but I think he's gonna struggle with the recruiting part of college. I think he needs to hire like a really good recruiter to do that for him, because I don't think he's going to be good at that. He's
not going house to house type shit like they did in the old days. Like the recruiting nowadays is just based off of like profitability by the player and like what NILs you can have. Which I mean, being Bill Belichick, you could probably bring in a ton just with your namesake alone, but.
And I don't think he's the best talent evaluator. Like you saw him, what he tried to do being the GM and the coach of the Patriots, it was a disaster. Like it was an absolute disaster. And I know that some people are like, well, he's a great coach, so you can't say it's like, no, what he did with the Patriots that year that he was the GM was terrible.
It was bad.
It was really, really bad. Some of the worst moves I think we've ever seen in the NFL.
I remember, because I was doing like my own little draft analysis and then when they drafted Colton Strange, I was like, this guy was graded as like a third round guy. This, like he had pretty good like college, like the College Bowl game, and like was making a name for himself. But I was like, yeah, this cat's like third round, maybe second round. Dude drafts him at like the 23rd spot, and I was like, what the fuck is he doing? I was flipping
He
through the pages.
drafted like 2 kickers in that draft.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell are we doing? But
Made no sense. That's why I'm a little worried about him as a recruiter
yeah,
because I feel like he's gonna throw some tape on and be like, "You see this fullback? We're gonna go get him." You know,
give him 5 million NIL. He deserves it.
That's what makes me nervous. But
Man, bring back the fullback though. That's
yeah,
another
it's
conversation we need to
pretty much
have.
gone.
It's so
Pretty much.
underutilized.
Now you just use like another tackle as like a tight end, a third tight end.
Yeah, just bring back like the power eye. Give me. I want a Mike Allstott. I want a Mike Sellers. If you know, you know. Waka Waka Community, Walla Walla Community College. Excuse me, Waka Waka. But yeah, I mean, like just that 6'4" lumbering fullback, leading running back like Clinton Portis. I miss that shit.
Like a Derrick Henry.
Yeah, bro. A Lorenzo Neal and Derrick Henry combo. I would every game, bro. Imagine that, bro. A Mike Allstott combo with James Cook behind him. I'm a triple option with that would be nuts. I'd hand that ball off to Mike. Easy. Now get him with Jahmyr Gibbs in Montgomery and Mike Allstott in the same backfield. I'm running wishbone. I'm bringing it back to the 50s. Fuck it, bro.
That's what I ran in high school. That was I hated running that offense. I hated every moment of it.
Shit.
But let's get on to my second hot take. And I don't think I've said this on this show yet. And if I have, just beat me up in the comments. Be like, Drew, you already said this, you idiot. But I think with what we're seeing with Washington this year coming up in this offseason, them and the Patriots have the most cap space. I think Washington and New England, but mostly Washington, I think is going to go for broke. I think they're going to sign a bunch of guys. I think they're going to sign guys all over the defense, like stars, and probably get another receiver. To me, they're my favorite to land T. Higgins. I think that's the team that no one's really talking about in that T. Higgins sweepstakes. If T. Higgins does become available, I think the Commanders could offer him the most money, and he could be with the Commanders next year.
Mm.
And I think you bolster up that offensive line. I think you spend so much cap space that like you are negative in the cap space next year, but you have a bunch of guys locked up for the next 4 or 5 years. And they are going to try to win the Super Bowl next year. And I think to do that, you're going to have to go all out in cap space next year and spend every dollar. And I think they're going to do that next year.
100% agree. Yeah, I think we're going to go for broke. We're going to sign anybody and whoever we can. I love the linebackers we got, but I don't know how long Bobby's going to be playing for. Frankie Louvu, lights out year. Getting second team all pro as well. Huge accomplishment. But I think just adding pieces to the DBs. I don't know if is DJ Reader going to be a free agent next year from the Jets? I think we sign him. Pair with
that would be sick.
I think we're going to get DJ Reader. I think that's going to be the highlight position is going to be cornerback because we got Lattimore. I don't know, contingent on what he had in his contract with the Saints, how long we have him for, but keep in mind, like if we keep him and then we get DJ Reader, have Benjamin St. Just in the slot where he's more comfortable as opposed to going against number one wide receivers and getting flagged every fucking time. Get him where he needs to be. We also have Quan Martin that comes in nickel packages, also a good safety. Derek Forrest, when healthy, he's been pretty good. But I think if we can address corner and get DJ Reader, who's been a proven decent corner and man-to-man corner, would be pretty nice. That would bolster that secondary a ton.
Yeah, maybe go get a corner, get a pass rusher, a receiver, some O linemen, maybe one linebacker for depth. Like that's probably I think that's probably a plan they're looking at.
Yeah, I think we need new left tackle because we got Andrew Wiley at right, which is pretty good. But Cosme, I don't know what it is. His lower half of his body just seems so skinny and tiny compared to his upper body. Like I want you to look at like film of him. Like it's just his lower half doesn't seem as strong as his upper body. But he plays decent. But I think
What's his name? Let me write it.
Samuel Cosme. He came out of Texas, but kids decent. But I think we need like a true left tackle. And like my guess, I guess my second hot take, wouldn't even really give it a hot take, but like if we did a full like 7-round mock draft, I think if we're sitting pretty in the 20s, we could go for his name is like Ursary. He's the left tackle out of Minnesota, just a behemoth of a guy. I think that would be a good fit just to anchor down that left side, protect Jaden, and then build around Biotish, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's our center. And then Wiley at right tackle. Beef up Samuel Cosme so he's a good right guard. And then maybe draft another left guard just to be in rotation because I forget what our left guard is. But
Cosme's just doing RDLs and lunges and squats all off season every day.
He needs a bigger ass. He does.
That's funny. But that is our hot takes. That is our show for the day. We will be back tomorrow. We'll talk about the divisional round. We have a lot of great matchups coming up. We have my notes are all messed up. Ravens Bills. That is going to be the game of the weekend. That is the Sunday night game. Perfect. We have the Commanders playing the Lions. We have Chiefs playing the Texans. We have
Rams Eagles.
So should be some closer matchups, I think, all around the board. Rams and Eagles already played this season, and it was not necessarily very close. It'd be cool to see if the Rams can kind of keep that game close this time.
Stop the run.
Man, with
just
those
gotta stop the run.
Definitely, yeah, stop the run. With those LA Fires, it kind of seemed like the Rams were playing motivated. So maybe that's my pick. My pick next week.
It's all in the script, baby.
Yeah,
they're gonna. I mean, that's probably why they came out and whomped the Vikings so bad. Just the script was like, "Hey, we got to get LA back. Do it for the city."
It's weird because they said that game was 51% Vikings fans. That's weird. I wouldn't think it would be. I thought it would be like 60-40 Rams.
Yeah.
Because the drive is not very far.
Mm-mm.
That must be like I feel like I haven't met a ton of Vikings fans in my lifetime.
My coworker's a Vikings fan.
They're always nice people. I think I've met like one or two throughout my life. They're always like nice people. Very paley, pasty white people. But that's fine.
Fitting.
You know?
Fitting.
And it's I don't know. I feel like I never meet them. Maybe they're one of those underrated teams that like really travel well their fan base. I can tell they're passionate when it's a home game for them. I can tell it's a really bumping crowd,
Hell yeah.
but yeah, we got a lot on the plate for you tomorrow. Hopefully, some more news comes out so we can have some stuff to talk about. We are closing in on the season. It is heartbreaking that it's coming down to the end, but we'll see how it goes. And we'll talk to you about the predictions for the divisional round. We'll actually get into what we think is going to happen, who's going to win, who's going to lose. Without the graphics because Nimmer's not here, but you can just enjoy our voices. Anything for before we get out of here, Darian?
No, sir. It was a pleasure to be on again today. Just really excited about these playoffs. I can only hope for a good matchup against the Lions. Both Dan Quinn, Dan Campbell. It's just going to be a fourth down fest, to be honest. But no, I'm just excited we got a first playoff win in 19 years. It's been a long time coming, so I'm happy it's going on. But other than that, just stoked to watch these games and see who's getting one step closer to the Super Bowl.
Couldn't agree more. Tell Sam I said good luck. You guys are so close. Excited for you both, and can't wait to meet the baby. So, have a good night, everyone. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern.